Hi guys, 18 Dapper here and welcome to my Doncaster Rovers 2022-23 League 2 preview and also my League 2 table prediction. It's going to be a fun one, buckle yourself in, let's get this video started. So guys, welcome to this video. As I said in the intro, we're going to have a look at Doncaster Rovers. I'm going to give my expectations for the season. I'm going to give my thoughts on our summer recruitment. I'm going to do two predictions. I'm going to predict the Doncaster Rovers top scorer for this campaign, and also I'm going to predict the player to watch for the Rovers who might just make us tick. So yeah, that's what we're going to go through in this video, but then at the very end we're going to go through my early predicted league table that we've been doing throughout July. If you've been supporting that mini series, thank you very much, it is greatly appreciated. We've looked at every individual club in League 2 every single day throughout July and then penciled them into an early predicted league table. But the transfer window's been open, players have come, players have gone, so you may have moved up or down depending on what business you've done in the summer. So we're going to rectify the league table at the end of this video. It is only my opinion, so please in the comments down below let me know why you think your team should be much higher or why you don't think you should be as high. I'm always happy to talk football in the comments, but as I say, it is my opinion. We've got to put two teams in the bottom two, it's nothing personal. We've got to put 7 teams in the top 7 as well. But without further ado, let's get into the expectations for Doncaster Rovers this season. So, expectations. These are my expectations and partially the club's as well. So I think Gary McSheffrey is still learning his trade, he's still cutting his cloth, so there's still question marks over him as a manager in terms of tactical awareness and being able to manage games out. We saw it last season where he put a team out that probably wasn't good enough. He came out a number of times after games and said that he'd not set the team up right, he'd not picked the right starting 11 and what have you. But I think we've got to take last season with a pinch of salt. I think he inherited a squad with no confidence. I think he inherited a bit of a mess, to be honest. So I think the club is looking in a better position this season. So hopefully that works better for McSheffrey and we can see him progress and succeed. I think the overhaul in the backroom setup over the summer will help support McSheffrey in his learning and his development as well as a manager. I think the appointment of Steve Eyre as assistant is an absolute wonderstroke from the club. Bags of experience. I think McSheffrey will be able to lean on him a lot, and the rest of the backroom setup, I think it's just set up some good foundations, some solid foundations to build upon this season. So we're moving in the right direction, and hopefully that staff setup behind the scenes will benefit the players' development on the pitch as well. James Coppinger was appointed head of football operations towards the end of last season, and again I think this is a wonderful appointment. There's nobody in my opinion who knows Doncaster Rovers better, both internally and from a fan's perspective. He's been with us for 17 years as a player, and yeah, I think he just knows Doncaster Rovers inside out, and I think the fans have been screaming for it for some time, that we're missing somebody with that footballing brain working alongside the board who are business people. So yeah, I think we're starting to see how the club's going to operate. I think this transfer window has been one of the best in a long time, and I think Cops will have been driving that, so it's looking positive off the field. Hopefully that just filters onto it when the season starts tomorrow, because last season was very, very poor. There's no getting away from that. We're expected to consolidate and then push on this season towards League 1 playoffs, and we find ourselves down in League 2, and rightfully so. We weren't good enough last season throughout the season, but yeah, hopefully all of these changes and improvements off of the field, hopefully that filters onto it. I think the poor form last season, a number of different reasons why. I think the recruitment in the summer was poor. Exiling players again by Richie was poor. I think potentially the way that the way that he treated those players. We had a very young squad. I think they were just playing with fear for a lot of the season, thinking that if they didn't put a performance in, potentially they'd be kicked out of the squad. Who knows what was going on behind closed doors? But it seemed a very toxic club inside. It was toxic on social media with the fans as well, and we seem to have turned a corner with that, which is nice. Yeah, we seem united as a club and fan base at the minute, but that may not last if the results don't come on the pitch. So hopefully they do come on the pitch. My expectation for a finish is top 7. That target's been set out by the club as well. They've also set out that the ambition is automatic promotion, but it's a very tough division, and I think top 7 should be achievable with the squad that we've got. But I'll go into the recruitment in a little bit more detail now. But yeah, expectation is pushing for playoffs. It'd be nice to push towards the top 3. On to summer recruitment, and for me it's been positive overall. I've already touched on it. I think it's been one of our best windows in a long time, but there is just a little concern that we're lacking a little bit of depth. We've still got a couple of loan slots that we can fill. I hope that we do fill all of those with players who can supplement our starting 11, rather than last season where our loans were making up our starting 11. But in the summer we've got 8 signings, 7 of which are permanent, and they're the type of players that we need and that we want. Players that are young, bags of potential, we can develop them, and then we can move on for a better fee. And I think a club our size needs to be operating like that, finding players at a good value, developing them, bringing out the best in them, and then moving them on to bigger and better clubs for a fee. And then hopefully, as we move up the table and get a little bit more money in the bank, we'll be able to bring in initially better players and make them even better and sell them on for more. It's fairly simple, and I hope that this is the transfer philosophy that we're going with now. But yeah, all the permanent signings for me have shown promise in pre-season. I've enjoyed watching football again, so yeah, I'm looking forward to the season starting. Good summer recruitment overall. On to my prediction for the top scorer. I'm going with one of our new boys, George Miller. As I say, I've enjoyed watching all of the new signings in pre-season, but this guy, his work rate is immense. He runs off the shoulder, wants to get in behind. He scored 6 in 6 in pre-season. I know we've not played the best of teams, but that'll hopefully give him all the confidence he needs going into the season, starting at Bradford. So yeah, 12 goals in 41 appearances last season. Hopefully he can add on to that. I think he'll be our top scorer this season, George Miller. Moving on to the player to watch, and again, this one's one of our new boys, Lee Tomlin. He is a class above, far too good for League Two. And what I like about Lee is, in his interview, he was open and honest. Said that he'd not been enjoying his football. He's been on plenty of money, but not enjoying it. So obviously, he's taken a drop in wages to come here, but he seems to be loving football once again. I think if we can keep Tomlin fit, and he'll just make us tick from the middle of the park. So yeah, for me, if Tomlin's fit and we get plenty of games out of him this season, he could be the difference between us potentially missing out on playoffs or getting in there or up into the top 3. So my player to watch this season is Lee Tomlin. So guys, the moment that you've all been waiting for, my final League 2 table prediction. On screen you'll see my initial table prediction where we've been penciling in teams every day throughout July in the mini-series. If you've been following the mini-series, you'll have seen that 7th position was left empty. That's where I put Doncaster Rovers. I think we'll break top 7. But what we'll do with the transfers, players coming in, players get moving, teams will be in different positions. You may have moved up, you may have moved down, you may be in the same place. So what we'll do is we'll put the bottom half of the table into the locked in prediction table, and we'll have a talk about each one from bottom to top. So that is the bottom half. You'll see plenty of movement. Some have creeped into the top half, and there's been a bit of movement in and around the bottom half. So starting with Harrogate, they've not moved any place, unfortunately. They've brought 9 or 10 players in, none of which I think improved their 11. 15 players have left, so it's a bit of a rebuild. I think because of that, it's going to be a bit of a tough season for them. I've got them down in 24th. In 23rd I had Stevenage. They've moved up 4 places to 19th. Bostwick and Danny Rose are good signings. Steve Evans putting his stamp on the team. Steve Evans always makes a team very difficult to beat, so Stevenage up 4 places. Hartlepool losing Molyneux could be damaging for them. Their top scorer coming to Doncaster, but Hastie from Rangers could be key, so I've kept them roughly in the same place, moved up 1 place to 21st. Crawley, tough one to judge Crawley with their new cryptocurrency owners, but they've got League 2 top scorer last season, Telford. It's a great signing. Can he reproduce what he did last year? We will see. They're the biggest movers in this. They've moved 8 places from 21st that I had them all the way up to 13th, but they've got potential to be breaking into that top 7 in my opinion. Rochdale, a very small squad, could hurt them. Cameron John's a decent addition, but injury kept him out for the most of last season, a back injury. I hope that is behind him. But Henderson brought in as well, bags of experience for Rochdale, but again, small squad could hurt them, couple of injuries, very threadbare. I've moved them down 2 places from 20th to 22nd. Next up in 19th was Barrow. Losing the experience of Ollie Banks in the midfield could be vital, but summer recruitment's not been too bad. No one stands out in all honesty, so I've given them a fairly solid season, dropped them down 1 place into 20th. Colchester, similar to Rochdale, very concerned in their squad size, a couple of injuries and the threadbare. Not much movement in the window, so I think it's going to be a similar season, and I've left them in my pre-prediction of 18th. They're still in 18th for my locked-in prediction. Next up I had Crewe in 17th, but I worry for them this season. Mandron's gone, so pressure's on Baker Richardson to get the goals, and they were cut adrift last season in a very poor League One, so I think they may struggle again this season. I think they may struggle massively, so I've dropped them 6 places from 17th down into 23rd. They're an absolute shadow of the team that they were a few seasons back, and kind of going around in these cycles, I think this might be one rebuild too far, especially with the performances last season. Next up in 15th was Walsall, a big overhaul for the squad, around 16 players out, 17 in, and for me I think it might just take a little bit of time to gel and click, and they may be playing catch up, so I've dropped them a couple of places down into 17th. Next up in 14th I had Carlisle United, and for me their keeper Holy could be vital in securing some points for them. Solid displays between the sticks, which we know that he is capable of, could save Carlisle some points and give them a solid mid-table finish. They've moved a fair few utility players on as well, so Carlisle I have kept in the same position as my pre-prediction, so Carlisle in 14th. Next up in 13th I had Newport County. Omar Bogle coming in, he can score goals at this level, and Zanzala I think is a very good addition too. For me though, the loss of Telford could be really damaging for Newport, but we will see. I think potentially with Bogle and Zanzala they could replace those goals, but only time will tell. So I've pushed Newport up from 13th, up 4 places into 9th. So now moving on to the top half of the table, I went from Grimsby in 12th, the top 7 of Doncaster, Bradford, Swindon and Salford, and the top 3 of Stockport, Mansfield and Northampton. So let's get the locked in table populated with the remaining 12 teams. So starting with Grimsby, newly promoted Bounce, they could have that. They've moved surplus players on, and they've brought in some solid additions. I think it's going to be a comfortable season for them, but nothing. I don't think they'll have to worry about relegation, but I don't think there's a potential that they may knock on the door of the playoffs, but I've got them in 15th position this season. Gillingham, the smallest squad in the league, I had them predicted in 11th. They need bodies through the door if they're going to push towards the top 7 in my opinion. Mandron's a good addition. Can he replace Big Verdane Oliver though? We will see. Lots of players have gone. Harris needs the bodies in. A couple of injuries and similar to Colchester and Rochdale. Very threadbare squad, but I've kept them in 11th. Wimbledon, I had them in 10th initially. I've dropped them down a couple of places into 12th, and the reason for that, not too many recruits to speak of. Gunter at right back, he'll add experience, but losing Jack Redoni could hurt them, and that's why I've dropped them down a couple of places. Next up is Tranmere. Not really added any standout players, but I think the additions that they have added enhances what they've already got. They've replaced some ageing players as well with younger players, so I think Tranmere will be a very energetic team, full of vigour, and Tranmere will be a tough place to go this season, so I'll bump them up from 9th to 8th. Initially in 8th I had Leyton Orient. Moncur is a superb signing at this level, but the loss of Kipianu is, as that anchor role in midfield, could be damaging for Richie Wellens' men. Controlling that midfield, they need somebody in there to be able to do that. We've seen snippets on social media, press conferences and stuff. Richie's all too familiar, complaining about being able to put a squad out and injuries and what have you. I think that may come to haunt them this season. I think Richie inherited a better squad, but we will see. But I've dropped them a couple of places down into 10th from 8th. I initially had the Rovers in 7th, but I think a couple of additions have increased my expectation a little bit. I think as a squad we've got enough to break the top 7. There's question marks over Gary McSheffrey, but I think the backroom additions and that setup there should help him. We should be top 7. I bumped us up a place into 6th. Bradford I initially had in 6th. I think I've given them an injustice. A very good summer recruitment, tipped to go up by many, fighting for the title by many. Dane Oliver could be key for them this season, but the loss of Elliot Watt could also be vital. That loss of creativity in the middle, but I think they've got enough in their squad to balance that out. And for me, I've bumped them up 5 places, and I think Bradford will be crowned champions this season. In 5th, I had Swindon Town. Harries and McDonald could be an absolute brick wall at this level, and I can't see Swindon conceding too many goals. I can't see many League 2 teams being able to break those down. They've lost a bit of creativity with Payne going to Charlton, but I think they've got enough in the squad to push them out of the playoffs into the top 3. I've got them in 3rd. Salford up next, a team that's always fancied to do well. They've got Elliot Simoes. He looked out of his depth in League 1 when he came on loan to us, but could League 2 be his level? Only time will tell with that. Elliot Watt is a good addition too. For me though, the gap in defence, losing Turnbull, that experience in there, could make it a little bit more difficult for them this season, so I've dropped them from 4th down into 7th. Still think they'll make the playoffs, but I don't think it'll be as easy as a lot are expecting it to be. Next up, well, my top 3, I had Stockport, Mansfield and Northampton. Obviously you can see that Stockport and Northampton have dropped out of the top 3, being replaced by Swindon and Bradford, and Mansfield retain their place in the top 3. The reason for that, Stockport tipped to do well, they tipped to win the league, and I think it is very possible, but I think it's going to be a very tight division. I think from maybe 13th, 14th up, we'll be fighting for playoffs. 15th down could get dragged into a relegation battle. I think it's going to be very, very tight. But yeah, Camps at this level is a scary addition. They've got rid of some fringe and surplus players and replaced well. Kyle Wootton is one to watch, so I think Stockport will have a positive season. And I've got them in 5th. Next up, Northampton. I dropped them out of. I had them initially as champions, but the more that I've looked at them, I think they could have a hangover from last season. They've lost Danny Rose and replaced him with Hilton. Hilton's got the experience, but I don't think he's as good as Danny Rose, so I'm going to have to drop Northampton down 3 places into the playoff positions. And that leaves Mansfield in 2nd. I think they did very well last season. They've added Boateng in the midfield, which I think will just push them onto the next level. I think Mansfield are one of those clubs that are getting run fairly well, and they're on an upward trajectory. So I think this season, potentially they could break into the top 3 and the automatic spots. So that is it. That's where I'm leaving the table. No more changes. Bradford champions, Mansfield and Swindon going up with them. Northampton, Stockport, Donny and Salford to make the playoffs. If I'm going to put my neck on the line, I'd probably say Stockport to win the playoffs. That momentum from winning the National League. But as I say, it's anybody's season this season. A good run. I think it's going to be very tight. Unfortunately, I've gone with Crewe and Harrogate as the bottom 2 to drop out of the Football League into the National League. Comments in the section down below, let me know if you think that I'm wrong. Coming up on the channel this season, we will be doing match previews for all league games, and then I'll be doing match previews for any cup games that I'll be attending as well. Match day vlogs for every game that I'm at, and then we will also be doing Sunday live streams with Punk Chef 41 and Ian Bradley. So a little different, slightly different format to what we had last season, because we've got Championship, League 1 and League 2 fans now. So we'll be
casting our eye and our opinions on all three divisions every Sunday from 6:30. So join us there. If you've not subscribed to Punk Chef or got Ian on Twitter, please go ahead and hit them up. Fantastic content creators and decent blokes as well. And come and join us at 6:30 on Sundays to have a chat about football. And that's where I'm going to leave this video. If you've enjoyed it, please stick a big thumbs up on it for us, please. Comments in the section down below. I wish every fan of every club within the Football League all the best for this season. Some of us are going to go down, some of us are going to go up, some of us are going to have a bit of a boring season. Whichever it is, it'll be a roller coaster, I'm sure. Please subscribe so you don't miss any future content on this channel. And all that's left for me to say is thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.